everyone to our Controlling Contract Growth webinar. My name is Teresina and I'm your moderator for today's presentation. Today we're broadcasting from Kitchener-Waterloo, Canada's Technology Hub, as well as Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Just a few housekeeping notes for this afternoon. During the presentation, all attendees will be muted to reduce audio feedback on the line. If you're experiencing any technical problems, please enter a message in the Q&A box to the right side of your screen, and we'll respond to you individually and do our best to help you out. Also, if you have any questions, you can enter those in the Q&A box as well, and we'll track them and pass them on to Joel and Ian to be answered at the end of the presentation. I do encourage you to ask your questions today, as you have direct access to the people who can answer your questions on today's webinar. That being said, this webinar is scheduled with a hard stop at the end of the hour, so if we cannot answer your questions during the webinar, don't worry, we'll get to the answers and send them out in an email. And this email will also include a link to the presentation recording as well as the slideshow. With that out of the way, let's jump in and get started. As you know, today's presentation is coming to you from CoreWorks. CoreWorks is a software and services company who provides integrated project information management solutions for the world's engineering and construction projects. As you can see here, we have projects of all sizes located around the world with thousands of users. We focus on delivering information management and collaboration software to owner-operators and EPCs so that they can minimize their associated project risks and improve overall project performance. Our products are unique because they blend the benefits of advanced technology with industry experience to automate best practices and improve project efficiencies. And here are some of the clients we've worked closely with to implement successful solutions. Our customers are all over the world and are fairly evenly divided between owners and EPCs. You can see a selection of them here. CoreWorks products are all integrated and address the key areas of business practices for executing engineering and construction projects. Project information control is at our core, but we offer other integrated or standalone solutions such as change management, interface management, request for information, and what we're going to talk about today, contract management. So I'm happy to have two very experienced and knowledgeable project experts with me. Ian Foster joins us from Baton Rouge today. He is currently the Executive VP and CMO for Dynamic Industries. And we also have Joel Gray, the Director of Product Management here at CoreWorks. Ian is a 28-year veteran within contract management for Fluor. He had global responsibility for the contract management function, including global resource development, portfolio assignments, as well as systems development. Some of you probably already know Joel. He has spent years working with clients and participating in research projects that have enabled him to build world-leading solutions that incorporate the industry's best practices into our products. Together, Ian and Joel will demonstrate how CoreWorks Contract Management can help you manage contract growth on your projects. We are happy to have them both here with us today and thank them for sharing their knowledge with us. With that, I'll turn it over to Ian.
Okay, thanks, Teresina. And I wish I was 28 years old, but it isn't so. Okay, I'm sure that most of you have seen this graphic here at one time or another. It's been around for a long time. If this is a real subcontractor, it's obviously not too smart of them, but it does show where potentially the subcontractor makes the most money, and that is what we're going to discuss somewhat today. Okay, as an introduction here, I have about 15 to 20 minutes, which obviously is not enough time to cover all the aspects of contract growth. So I'm going to focus on just a few elements that can also be associated with the CoreWorks program. And I'll be looking at this primarily from an EPC perspective. Suffice it to say, our industry has not improved much with respect to managing growth. 2004 average growth to a subcontract was about 43%. Of which approximately 8% was defined as unforeseen. Today, it's probably the same or higher. Projects today, and specifically natural gas-related projects such as LNG export facilities and ethane crackers, of which there is an abundance of, have fast-track schedules and are primarily lump sum in nature to the EPC companies. This combination historically has proven to yield extraordinary growth busted budgets, and extended schedules. Typically, the EPC subcontracting strategy is to pass on as much risk as possible to the various subcontractors by issuing lump sum subcontracts for major scopes of work. Invariably, these scopes of work are poorly defined due to lack of engineering data and the fast-track nature of the project. And as a result, significant growth, which is okay if considered, but it's unforeseen growth that needs to be anticipated and carefully managed. By using available technology, I believe the EPC can today be smarter in managing their subcontracts and significantly reduce their growth. Okay, move to the pre-award phase, and the first item is pre-qualification. Selecting the right subcontractor is essential to controlling growth. For selecting the wrong subcontractor can lead to them being overextended and potential failure, and thereby causing both direct and indirect cost growth. Direct being the sub trying to recover their costs, and indirect being the cost of replacing the failed subcontractor. The pre-qualification process is no longer hard copy documents that are rarely shared with members of the task force. They are developed online and are automatically shared with authorized members of the task force who have actions to respond. So all decision makers are now fully aware and have input to such items as subcontractor capability, their experience with this type and size of scope, and in this particular location. Do they have experience with the project owner? Which, if they do, is a plus, as they will be considering their long-term relationship past the duration of this particular project. Capacity. Do they have the financial wherewithal to support a project of this size? What is their bonding capacity, etc.? Subcontractors will sometimes stretch themselves past their safe financial threshold just to secure work, which can be dangerous to themselves and to the project. Ensure the appropriate people within the EPC organization assess the financials. Backlog. What other projects are they performing or potentially performing at the same time as this project? Again, be careful they don't overburden themselves and stretch their supervision, support staff, and equipment, etc. Performance history such as safety, quality, schedule performance, contract growth, claims and disputes is now collected and maintained electronically and should be the first point of reference when selecting a bid list. The next part is the evaluation of bids. It's a lengthy process that is critically important to controlling growth. This process is simplified by authorized stakeholders being able to perform simultaneous evaluations through the electronic process, such as focusing on prices for changes. With the likelihood of the scope of work being only 30 to 40% defined, the pricing for changes is equal to or more important than the lump sum price itself. Subcontractors usually know where the changes will occur, and they will price their unit prices for changes accordingly. I.e., the more likelihood of change, the unit price will be higher. Example: when I worked for an EPC, we performed a re-evaluation of bids after the selected subcontractor completed the work, including all of the additional work, only to find we had awarded the subcontract to the wrong subcontractor, i.e., the selected subcontractor's unit prices for changes were higher in certain areas. However, it's now easier to evaluate the unit prices, and it is important to include the discipline engineer in the review to ensure no imbalance in the unit prices. This can now be easily performed by a collaboration of disciplines and systems. Terms and conditions. The document that will be referred to when things go wrong. Also the document that is the EPC's first line of defense in proving entitlement. Entitlement, for example, would be notice provisions. Most terms and conditions require the subcontractor to A, advise EPC with 5 days in the event that may give rise to a claim, and then B, provide details within the following 10 days. If they fail to do so, the EPC can claim non-entitlement to a claim, as they, the EPC, were not given the opportunity to be a part of the solution, and in some cases can also counterclaim for the same reason. Subcontract exceptions and qualifications are one of the most important factors in controlling unexpected growth, i.e. late or middle of claims. T's and C's can now be evaluated simultaneously by project stakeholders, such as legal, project management, contract management, etc. By performing the foregoing, you should now be in a favorable position to move to the post-award stage. Okay, in the post-award stage, obviously there's an enormous amount of activity takes part in this phase of the contracting process. But so I'm just going to address a few here. First one is timely issue of revisions. By electronically transmitting revisions to the subcontractor in real time, we can avoid unnecessary rework and cost. A good example would be civil contractor setting and pouring a foundation. In the old days, the revision may have got into the subcontractor's hands after he has started the work on or even completed the foundation. In today's world, real-time changes are transmitted to the subcontractor and thereby avoid the foregoing problem. Deliverables. Too often when faced with a deliverable issue, for example, late materials, the last person to be informed is the subcontractor. Don't keep the subcontractor in the dark. Share the problem, such as late material delivery. The longer this info is kept from the sub, the more it will cost to fix and will cause unnecessary delays. Thirdly, magnitude of changes. Subcontractor may claim that excessive and untimely changes had an adverse effect on their productivity. Be sure that for each change or group of changes that any potential indirect impacts are also addressed, and offsetting language is included in each subcontract amendment, is included as a standard language in each progress meeting, and is made a condition of each payment to the subcontractor. Example, a standard question at each progress meeting should be, do you have any claims or disputes for work performed to date? By answering no, they waive their right for claims up to that date. If they say yes, it can be addressed for the period of time in effect and not left to fester into something much bigger. Okay, on the high-level review, using CoreWorks CM, each subcontract status is developed, including the original value, the current value, pending changes, percent complete, paid to date, etc. This can now be easily accessed for potential risk, assessed for potential risk and future growth. The report can be viewed at various levels within the EPC, including project and company level. And it's fairly quickly you can determine what contractors may be at risk, what contracts are growing at a greater risk, and so forth. And I think Joel's going to give an example of that later in the presentation. Finally, closeout. When a contract is formally closed, risk of further growth is eliminated. CoreWorks CM focuses on timely closeout by way of its closeout report feature that is shared with all stakeholders electronically. Typically, what we do is start the closeout process from day one and follow each of the steps of the closeout program. So at the end of the day, it's a very simple process to go to the formal closeout. Well, that's it from me. As I said earlier, it's not something. As you know, it's a very large and in-depth problem that can take a couple of days to truly go into all the details. But hopefully that gives you some idea of where we're heading and the focus that CoreWorks CM is at. So at that stage, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Joel.
Okay, thank you, Ian. So I'm here today as a product representative for CoreWorks, and I'm going to be showing you some of the product and some of the things that we're going to talk about today. Let me just move forward for my demonstration slide here. So what I'm going to be talking about today is I'll do a general overview of the product and how it sets up and how it's used. I'll talk specifically about some of the issues that Ian covered on the controlling growth side, and I'll be showing aspects of the product with regard to pre-award, specifically managing contracting parties, managing that scope of work at the bid stage, both on the document side as well as the quantities and item side. I'll talk about how that links into the post-award and how you can track against that. Specifically, an automated change management process will be part of my demo today. I'll talk about how you can also catch a glimpse into deliverables performance and give that communication to all of your stakeholders so that they see when things are starting to trend towards late deliverables. And I'll talk about some of the indicators that you can look at through for growth in terms of some of the contract reports that we'll show, and we'll dig into some of that. And what's not on this slide is, time permitting, I'll show as well the closeout capabilities of the product, and we'll let you have a look at that. So without further ado, let me move into my demonstration. I'm going to flip over to my my product. So to begin with, for those of you who haven't used any CoWorks products before, it is a web-based system. So through a web browser, you can connect to the system, and then you're required to use a login and a password to access the system. I'm going to log in as Rebecca, and Rebecca is my contract administrator for this demonstration. All the users that log into our system are profiled by roles, and the roles are associating what level of access or permissions they have into the system. And of course, I want to use a contract administrator to give you a look at some of the unique features that are enabled for that role in our contract management product. So the first thing I want to do is give you a look at some of the ways that we manage collaboration and information around contracts. First of all, let's look at the contract register. This is just a feature of the product that allows you to see all of the contracts at a project level and see some general status information, progress information, and so forth around the contracts. It's a configurable report here. But the register kind of allows us to see at a bird's eye view what's happening with contracts, but then also allows us that launch pad into certain contracts. So I'm going to go ahead and click on one of these contracts to give you a look at what's behind and what's inside the contract information in CoWorks. So I've selected WorkCamp Facilities. This is an example of a contract that has been awarded. It's in the post-award phase, and so there's a significant amount of information and activities going on in this contract. And the types of things that I'm showing you here is really kind of a hub for contract administration and give you a look into all the things that are happening in the contract. So first of all, you see the contract summary information at the top of the page. Below that, you see representation of the activities that contract administrator has been tasked with. And just as a general note, CoWorks is a strongly workflow-driven system. So what it's doing is it's automating a lot of the work processes around contract management, and it's delivering those tasks to the individual users who are assigned to them. And in this case, our contract administrator has quite a number of tasks that are delivered to her inbox. If I scroll down a bit, you see some more types of information that can appear at the home page of a contract. This next one on the screen, active requests. This is something that shows the processes that the contract administrator, Rebecca, has initiated and can track their status and progress as things happen. So Rebecca gets to see all of these processes that she's initiated and who's responsible for them, and what status and progress have been achieved on those processes. And then even further down, you see things like key dates or other types of information. This is a personalized setup, so it can show different types of information in different reports on this page as required for Rebecca to do her daily job. So over on the left side of the page, you'll see a number of other capabilities. These are just general tools that allow her to engage people or to manage information. This one in particular was an action item register. If I expand this searches folder here, Rebecca's actually created a bunch of saved searches that she can use to track down information or documents related to the contract. And this is an example of how CoWorks does a great job in linking together all of the controlled information in an integrated document management context. So these are approved scope of work templates, for example, that Rebecca can look at and use to formulate her contracts as required. And there's lots of other capabilities at that level to search and find and to gather things together in one area. So returning to our contract area here, on the top of the contract area, there's a number of these menus that give Rebecca access to kind of one-click access to the things that she does most frequently or manages most frequently, be able to create new artifacts against the contract. In pre-award context, she can manage things like bid list or bid packages or issue bids as required. This is all based on stage as well of the contract. So in this case, Because the contract's already been awarded, some of these things are disabled now for her. Managing RFIs, managing changes, managing invoices against the contract, closeout, and there's a dashboard capability as well for Rebecca to see at a high level some summary information around this contract. So this is filtered by this particular contract, and in this case, we'll be showing this a bit later. Some of these reports, like change metrics, to see what changes are pending or what's been approved. Okay. So next, I'm going to start a bit of an introduction when we talk about pre-award activities of how CoWorks helps you manage some of that organization around contracting parties and making sure you've got the right qualified contracting party. So just to get started, if I go into one of these other contracts here, more of a pre-award phase, this one, gas treatment, has got some activities happening. But in this case, what I wanted to show you is the ability to go ahead and look at the bid list that we're constructing for this contract. So CoWorks Contract Management gives you the ability to manage your bid list in a more formal way and to add or remove contractors to it. In this case, the edit capability is available because we're still in pre-award here. And we can go ahead and look at the contracting parties that have been added to this system and see detailed profiles around them. The profiles inside of CoWorks Contract Management include general information about the contractors that you're working with, pre-qualifications that you've already done, contact information for the key contacts at that subcontractor, document information or attached documents like certificates or pre-qual questionnaires or whatever you're using there with the contracting parties, financial information, etc., that you might want to track against the contracting parties. So the ability to add contracting parties is something that you can manage as well, and you can qualify these searches against contracting parties that you'd like to work with based on things like skills or history or classifications that you want to search on to find the right contracting parties. And you can add those to your bid list as required. So to keep moving, I'd like to switch over to talking about managing the pre-award scope of work. So this is definitely one of the biggest challenges for contract growth. So I'm going to show you how CoWorks helps to define the pre-award bid scope and to engage engineering and other stakeholders with regard to verifying scope and making sure that everything's clearly defined in the contract. So I'm going to go to yet another contract here. Let me just bring up the inlet facilities contract. So in this case, each contract has a bid package, and that bid package provides a way that the contract administrator or the engineers or whoever's got permission to work in here can organize information for the tender or for the RFP that goes out to the bidders. And in this case, we've got a number of organized folders inside the bid package and a number of documents inside of those. So if we go ahead and look through the structure here that's been created, and we want to look at in particular an area or a set of documents that have been added to this contract bid package, then we can just go ahead and click on that folder and we see a number of these documents that have already been added. If we expand those, we see individual files that are associated with those documents as well. So by organizing information this way in the bid package, it's a lot easier for the longer term or larger size bid packages to be constructed in a progressive way. What I mean by that is these are actual documents that are linked to work in progress or documents that have been pre-allocated for engineering to complete. So in many cases you'll see some that are approved, some that are just issued for various purposes, some that are still being worked on, and being able to manage that process is integrated with our document control processes that are also provided with the solution here from CoWorks. So as an example, what I'd like to show you is how for any of these documents that are linked to our document control processes, they automatically get updated, and there's certain communications and alerts and updates that happen when these documents move through their life cycle through the engineering processes. In particular, I want to show you how transmittals can affect this. Transmittals being one of those key document control processes. So if I go to a particular area in the system, and many times when a subcontractor drops off or an engineering group drops off a set of transmittals, they'll get notified via email, and they can come directly to this area here. And this is where somebody's dropped off a package of documents for transmittal. And I'll just go ahead and process that using the integrated CoWorks capability for transmittals. I won't go into this too much because I think that's the subject for another topic or another webinar. But CoWorks does a lot of great things when it comes to verifying transmittal content and making it easy to have these inbound into the system and processed into the system as new revisions of information. So I'm just going to go ahead and process that. And what I really wanted to show you is once these transmittals are processed, the documents are automatically going in as new revisions into the system. And once that happens, if I return now to my inlet facilities bid package, you can have a look at some of the dynamic updates that are happening there and how everything's integrated. So let's go back to our concrete or civil drawings foundation folder. You see here, in addition to emails and other notifications that are happening as a result of these transmittals and workflows for review and so forth that are happening that CoWorks supports, the owner of the bid package is actually getting notified and gets these kind of alerts into updates that are happening. You'll see the red text here indicating that there's a more recent revision of these documents. And one of the things that we can do now as a contract administrator is we can choose to go ahead and update our link to that latest revision. And so this is kind of one aspect of an integrated system here, but I thought it was a good way to illustrate how closely you can manage scope around a bid package, in particular when you've got all of these in-progress information going around in the engineering realm, in FEED or whatever stage your project's at, prior to releasing or issuing this bid package. Okay, now I'm going to talk about how CoWorks can manage the bid quantities as well for contract award. This is another important part of defining scope. So just go ahead and click on the line items tab here. And in a bid package, you can have detailed line items and quantities, including estimates that you want to bring in from your estimating system. Just a note, you can create these things through bulk import processes. I've already done that. I'm not going to process another bulk import here, but I just want to give you a glimpse at some of the capabilities there for setting up these bid packages pretty quickly. But in particular, I wanted to also point out that when you've got all of your line items figured out, and you've got everything kind of organized the way you want it to, you can include these estimates. You've got a very neatly defined and crisp definition of scope that's being required by all the bidders to include in their proposals and responses. What you might see at the bottom and left of the page is a Submit for Approval button, and we'll show you a bit more of these types of processes in a moment, but just emphasizing that when all of these artifacts in contract management are ready, you can engage a will processes on them and get them approved by the authorized individuals at your company. So all this information being well defined by a contract administrator, whoever is preparing your bid packages, can also go through into a very consistently executed workflow approval process. So let's go ahead and click on our projects area. I'm going to go back now into a little bit more about, I'm going to move to a contract that's got a bid package and all the information ready for RFP issue. So that's my gas treatment contract. And I wanted to just point out that when you're in these types of processes, for example, a bid process, you can have these, just like I mentioned a moment ago, you can have these workflow processes that send approval notifications and approval tasks to people. So in this case, I wanted to issue this bid, so I'm going to go ahead and ask for approval. Approve the bid prior to tender. I can attach files. All of our workflows and forms provide this capability to either link files from the integrated document system or just attach files from your desktop. You can provide need dates on these tasks and go ahead and submit that, and those will be directed to the correct approvers. We'll show you a little bit more of the workflow functionality later when I talk about the integrated or automated change process. So now I can go ahead, assuming that's all been approved. In my demo, I've just kind of set up that approval ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and issue the bid request here. And as part of that process, I won't go into this too much, but just setting deadlines, providing instructions to your bidders. It's all part of the automated process here for issuing the bid request. So when I issue the bid request, it's going to send all the emails out to the bidders electronically and invite them to be part of this request for proposal. Okay, so to see that, a little bit of that in action, and to talk about how we're controlling this whole process of the bid, let me give you just a look into some of the emails that are generated. This one in particular has come from the issue bid process that I just did, and it's giving the email to Nathan here, and Nathan's been given a link. He's automatically got a login account created for him on our bid portal here at CoWorks, and he can go in and log into the system. We do have some features for bidders just to qualify themselves, as well as to do things like have a tour of the system for first-time bidders. That's very helpful, but we'll go ahead and skip that. And so now you can see there's a detailed bid package download available. There's instructions here for the bidder to express their intent to bid as the first deadline here. So you can go ahead and do that and express your intent to bid. And then it's going to give you kind of that countdown to bid submission, and they can download the bid package and so forth. So I'm not going to go into too much of this because I did want to get back to what I really want to focus on is a little bit more of the bid evaluation process. So I'm going to go into a bid response that's already been prepared here, and show you what that might look like. So one of the things that comes as part of the bid package when it's distributed to the bidders is a detailed bid quantities spreadsheet and all of the documents that you saw in the bid package before in the structure that's provided there. So one of the things we can do here is inform or have this lockdown spreadsheet that requires the bidders to enter in quantities and costs and so forth against the contract bid package. So that's something that will, at CoWorks, we help you manage. So all this information that gets entered here when they submit their proposal through the bidder portal is automatically captured in our database, and it just kind of closes that link between the required scope that you've defined in the bid package and the responses that you're getting from your bidders. Okay, so I'm going to close this bidder portal, and I'm going to get back to my my demonstration. So one of the things I wanted to now talk about is a little bit about the bid evaluation process. So I'm going to log in as my engineer here. And as an engineer, I just use that example because these are the people that will be engaged in being part of that technical, commercial, or whatever types of bid evaluation activities are going on as part of this process. So I'll go ahead and click on this engineer's Ray engineer. I'll click on Ray's workflow inbox and get access to some of the tasks that have been assigned to Ray as part of the bid evaluation. The top one here, technical review of bids for the NGL pipeline. I'll click on that one, and you can see now Ray's been delivered this task. He's been given the ability to see all of the bidders that have proposed against the contract tender, and then he gets to look at the bid responses for each individual bidder. And this is all based on permissions, so if you want your engineers involved in the technical reviews of bids, then you can specify that. You can also determine whether they should see all of the details in terms of the bid package and the bid responses that come in. In this case, just to bring up again, Ray gets access to verify quantities or to verify technical drawings and so forth that have been submitted as part of the proposal. So really important that in an ability to control growth on contracts, that all this scope is clearly defined, that it's verified at the pre-issue phase, and then once something comes in as part of an evaluation, you're engaging all of the right parties in terms of doing the technical reviews, doing the commercial reviews, verifying the details that come in. Because another thing that happens during this process here that we're looking at now, this evaluation process, is when a contract gets to award and it's been approved for award, then you can actually what CoWorks does is it automatically transfers these values and these bid documents into the contract scope of work for further refinement and tracking. So we kind of do a full circle around the scope control. Okay, so now just to shift a bit, I'm going to do some post-award demonstration. And in particular, I want to talk a little bit about the integrated change management process that's provided with CoWorks Contract Management. So let me log off and log back in as what I'd like to log in as, in this case, is a subcontractor. So you can see subcontractors actually have the ability to, if you allow them to collaborate with you in this system and be part of the processes there. So I'll log in as Donna, who's a representative of a subcontracting company. And Donna has a bit more limited access to information in the system, a very smaller view into things. But in particular, Donna is going to be able to initiate processes. Donna can look at her own work item inbox to see what's been assigned to her. In this case, she's got a draft of a change request that she's been working on. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a look at that, and then I'm going to submit that so I can show you a little bit of this automated change process. So this is an example of a change request that Donna was drafting, and she's got some information about, hey, we've got a relocation of our electrical controls, and we've got certain configuration aspects tracked against this, certain contracting parties that are involved, and some values that might be estimated against that. So she go ahead and execute that. She can also attach documents as required to the change request. And then what's happened now is the system's gone off and kicked off these workflows and is starting to direct the review and approval task to the authorized users. I won't go into all the details, but CoWorks Contract Management has a very configurable capability to specify a distribution matrix for all of your workflows. So based on content that Donna might have entered in that change request, for example, the cost values or maybe certain disciplines, you can automatically route it to the correct people. So just to illustrate a little bit more of the process, I'm going to log in as Rebecca again, our contract administrator, and give you guys a look at what is involved in some of the verification process around this change. We're just going to go to her contract area. We'll go to Work Camp Facilities so you can get a look at what's happening in particular with this change request in this particular contract. So open up the change request. The first step is just for Rebecca to verify the details of the change request, make sure that everything's been entered correctly. It gives Rebecca the option to return this to the initiator, to Donna, if something's wrong, or just go ahead and send it on to the next step. Optionally, Rebecca also gets the opportunity to check whether the right participants are involved in this workflow. And part of that is to see what the distribution matrix has pre-assigned, and then to modify that as required. So change request participants is the next step. And she can look, she can see that Ray and Kathy have been pre-authorized through the distribution matrix to be part of this workflow. So it's definitely proceeding by the policies, but she can go ahead and change these if she likes. She can adjust deadlines or timeouts. These are particularly interesting because in CoWorks contract management, we have the ability to automatically escalate and send warnings and escalations to managers or people as required when things are late. So it's great to kind of set up these, especially with contractually stipulated durations on some of these turnarounds. But I'll go ahead and just execute this as is. So I don't want to show you too much more of the workflow, but just to emphasize that CoWorks is controlling this from start to finish, the reviews, the approvals that happen as a result of this change process. It's just making sure that your change policy is followed consistently every time. So let's talk about what Rebecca might do to monitor this change. So one of the quick access features of a contract administrator is to look at all the changes in the change register. So we have an integrated change register with CoWorks Contract Management. See, these are the changes that are directly related to this contract. And she can see at a glance the overall changes against the contract, and then she can look at any individual change request as required. She can also now go to a dashboard, and I think I showed you this a bit earlier, but you can see the dashboard, and one of the most popular change management type of reports on the dashboard is we call our change metrics report, which is showing up at the top of the screen here. And this gives Rebecca kind of a summary level of all changes that are against this contract. But I guess even more useful would be for her to be able to look at pending or new changes as well as approved changes, so she can kind of get a heads up on things that aren't yet approved but might eventually affect the contract values. And when we go into the next section of my demo, I'll show you a little bit more about contract values and some of the risk indicators around change. But just as another example here, I can go ahead and click on this report in any particular area, and I can see more detailed breakdown of where these changes exist, what contracting parties are initiating these changes, what disciplines or what areas of the project they're affecting, and ultimately, as I keep clicking through, I can see yet an even more detailed register of changes, and I could even open up each one of these to act or expedite or take action against that change. Okay, we'll close this dashboard, and we just want to give you a little bit look at the some of the other just summary level information that you get around changes. So in this case is when I look at the home page of this contract, Work Camp Facilities, I see some information on the right side of this contract summary area. Let me just zoom in there for a second so I give you a better look at it. Here in particular, I can see, the awarded value of the contract. I can see all the change values here. I can see, even payments and available funds against the contract. So it gives her a quick way to kind of see exactly what's happening on that contract at any time. Okay, one thing I'd just like to switch again here, Ian covered earlier was a deliverable performance and seeing when deliverables are trending late or whatever. Let me just give you another look at a dashboard here that I've got. It gives you a little more glimpse into what an integrated deliverables capability is for CoWorks contract management. And things like late document profiles that are supposed to be delivered by now. I can see facility design progress and see exactly where the deliverables are at and what stage, complete or incomplete. In particular, if I wanted to, I could see work items that are trending late for individual users in the system, and I could look at what work processes and what tasks are late for this particular user. And I can do that for all my direct reports as required as well. Okay, so let's kind of go to our one of our final segments here. I know we're trying to get done pretty soon, so let's go to our growth indicators in contract reports. So you saw some of the reports at kind of the dashboard level. Let me show you another report here for contract management, more at a call it an ad hoc reporting level. So now with some of these reports, you can go in CoreWorks, you can just click the project you're worried about. You can click, in this case, it's a contract summary reports, give me statuses of contracts if I want to filter by that or other criteria, and just generate that contract summary quickly this way. And in this case, what I'm going to see is a full register of all the contracts against this project, of all the statuses that I've selected. And I get a very, call it a very extensive set of data around each contract, kind of on a row-by-row basis. So now I can see the awarded values, change values, etc. One of the things I wanted to kind of illustrate first is, let me just zoom in here. On this first level here, I can look at some of the values against the contract. In particular, with regard to contract growth, I can see there was an awarded value of about 11.8 million, and then a bunch of changes have been logged against this contract. So I can see a current value of the contract. I can see pending changes that have not been approved. So ultimately, I'm looking at this thing and I can see at least a 50% growth on this contract. And these types of indicators are kind of very visible and something that you can act on, or at least make people aware of the communications. These reports are very effective for meetings, as well as to just automatically route them and send them off to the stakeholders or the executives to see what's happening with the contracts. Let me give you another example. So if I go look at my second row here, this contract has got a percent complete value that we're tracking against the contract of about 60%. Funny thing about that is the current estimated value of the contract being about 3.5 million. We're 60% through. Why have we only got about 800,000 in approved payments? The numbers just don't look right there. So this is another red flag that you can kind of look at, or an indicator to look at and say, hey, you know what? Either the progress value is wrong here, or maybe the somebody's not getting paid. So these are great ways to find growth indicators and ways to control things before they get more out of hand. All right, we're just going to wrap up a little bit. We've got about 3 more minutes. I just wanted to cover some closeout. So let's move back to my contract area and show you and look at how CoreWorks helps you manage the contract closeout here. So I'll go back to my work camp facilities contract, and you'll see up in the menu bar here for the contract administrator a closeout link, and that gives access to the closeout register for this contract. And so what you see in the closeout register, these are each of them distinct action items that have been logged in a punch list format here. And they'll describe all of those start to finish, even from day one, kind of contract closeout activities that have to be achieved. And in particular, these can all be assigned to individual users. So if I want to open up one of these, I can see detail in terms of this action item has been assigned to Rebecca. It's got a description or an action that's been required, a need date. It tracks correspondence or whatever's happening in terms of the response from the assigned users. It's got attached documents or links to documents in your document management system. So a very detailed way to log your action items in your closeout register and to track them. So now, because each of these have a workflow, I can go in and look at workflow status information against this. It's awaiting Kathy Approver, who's been assigned this one. It was assigned to her on this date. So a great way to kind of show a step-by-step log of what's happening in this work process, this particular closeout item. Ultimately, when the contract closeout is ready, you can go ahead and initiate a contract closeout approval workflow. So again, just kind of reiterating again the fact that CoreWorks uses these workflows just to be compliant and to do things in a more formal, controlled way. And in this case, Rebecca's asking for the authorized approvers to go ahead and approve contract for closeout, and can attach files or just go ahead and submit that, and that'll get routed to the, according to the distribution matrix, to the authorized people who can close out the contract. And finally, when this contract closeout is approved, CoreWorks contract management has intelligence to automatically lock down that contract, make sure there's no more changes or growth against that contract in the system, and make it read-only. And So all these great things, these controls are in place, formalized for you, and we think that this system is going to do a very effective job at helping your contract professionals control contract growth. So that's the end of my. I hope it wasn't too fast, but we're going to go ahead and switch to the presentation slides, where Teresina is going to take us home, and then we're going to open it up to questions and answers. Q&A first. Okay, questions. All right, so I'm going to look at the question panel. All right, just going to take a minute to look at the questions, and I'll be right back on hopefully in less than a minute here. Thanks. Okay, I've got 3 questions in the question panel. Obviously, I encourage anyone else who wants to add to that, go ahead. First question is from Tim. Can the contract management system be used in a standalone mode without linkage to CoWorks' information management system and server? If so, what is the flexibility for linking to a company's document management system? Okay, good question, Tim. Yes, so the answer is yes, it can be used in a standalone mode. We think that use of our integrated document management system provides a good option for you, but if you have your own document management system and you want to link artifacts to that, we have planned to introduce a connector post-release that you could use for other document management systems. So that's coming later this year. Next question. How does CoWorks tie in, this is from Rob, how does CoWorks tie in with a project control system such as Prism, and how does CoWorks handle payments? Okay, thanks Rob for that one. So yeah, CoWorks has a lot of great tools to help you tie in a project control system, Prism being a good example. So really what CoWorks Contract Management does is it provides a full web API that allows another system to reach into CoWorks Contract Management. It's a RESTful web API, so you reach into Contract Management and you can pull out all of the details around approved invoices, invoice data, change data that's been approved, and use that to push that into your cost system. CoWorks also has some tools around exporting content from CoWorks Contract Management in an Excel or a comma-separated values format, which can then be used to import to those systems interchangeably. And of course we have import, so it kind of goes both directions there. So thanks, Rob. Teresina, question. Oh, sorry, that's not the right question. Go to the next one, please. Okay. Okay, this question is about reports. So are there more reports? Are they all out of the box? So yes, the reports you saw today, as well as other ones I didn't have time to cover, are out of the box. So I guess the good news is that you do get a lot of reports with the system, but you also have a lot of capability with our reporting system to create your own, and to, obviously CoWorks will help you create those as well. And so a lot of that great information about all that information that you saw today about contracting parties, contracts, the workflow processes is all available to the reporting engine. So you can do, I guess, to your heart's content, you can do those kinds of reports. Okay, I have another question here from Mohamed. How to mitigate risk associated with changes? Any integration with contracts correspondence systems? Okay, so I guess I would probably answer that the same way I answered the other one in terms of integration, but one of the things that we can do is we can integrate with another system. If you've got, for example, if you've got a correspondence system that's managing aspects outside of our system, outside of the CoWorks system, then you could do things like use the import and export or the API to get information in and out of CoWorks pretty easily that way. To mitigate risk associated with changes, we believe CoWorks provides a lot of strong capability to pull those indicators out into reports and to have those reports distributed to your risk management system or your risk assessment meetings. And we think that's a very effective way to to feed the information you're finding or the indicators you're finding from CoreWorks into your overall risk process. Okay, I think, is there another one there? Let's just check one more there. Here's one from Seward. Is a demo presentation available to download so I can share with others? And so the answer is yes. The people who attended here will get the presentation link, and we'll be able to access that again. But you have to be part of the membership on the meeting to access that. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Okay, that's the end of our questions today. Thanks very much, and I'm going to turn it back to Teresina.
Thank you, Joel and Ian, for sharing your knowledge with us. Just wanted to quickly note some upcoming webinars that this group might be interested in. We have a couple of more contract management presentations coming up in May and June, and I'll be sending out an email invitation with more information about that so that you guys can sign up. And we also have our Project Excellence annual event in Houston coming up April 21st if you happen to be in town, and our Project Excellence Calgary in September with more information to come on that. So if you have any questions, I encourage you to email me directly. My information is up there, or you can give me a call. And if you are on LinkedIn, make sure to visit the Interface Management group if you're interested in more research around some of the project information management tools that CoreWorks has. Thanks again, and we'll see you at the next webinar.